everyone can see my screen. I know that's the most overrated thing to say in 2021, and everyone can hear me. I'm not muted. Again, 2021, put on a t-shirt. Cool. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so thanks so much for having me. Like I said, this is a partnership with ADP List and Creative Mornings. It's always been my dream to be talking at Creative Mornings. I've heard of Creative Mornings for the last 3-4 years, and ex-coworker of mine, he came from New Zealand and he was on contract at my company, in my first company, and he's like, hey, there's this cool event and you go for free. And you come in person when that was a thing, and you get free breakfast and you get free coffee, and you just hear people talk. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, I want to go see talks. I want to learn something in the morning. I want to see like a TED Talk style. Why not? So when I saw them up on the stage, I was like, wow, I think I can do that. Just that little gut feeling was like, I think I can do that. That sounds amazing. Like, these people are so smart and these people are so intelligent, and they're kind of going off on a really broad topic, but they're narrowing down to their life. And so I guess I've been always foreseeing myself being here in some way, hopefully in person, but just somehow affiliated. I don't know, but just a little astral projection that this is kind of my dream. So thank you for having me again. Okay, kind of let's get started. If my keyboard works. Okay. Yeah, so kind of like Mafe said, you know, I'm a creative focused on making a better world for others. That was not a statement that I could have made early on. It took a lot of work, and I'll kind of try to show you why and how. Yeah, so feel free to join me. I will kind of say with a little disclaimer, I don't think I had the most trauma. I don't think, you know, I've been through the most out of anyone here. I bet you guys have probably been through the most, but I'll kind of show. And I've been listening to a podcast with Oprah and Brene Brown, and I think his name Dan Brown. They wrote a book, and they were talking about different types of trauma. And there's capital T, and then there's just smaller t, lowercase t. And I'll kind of walk you through my lowercase t, and they said that it can have the same effect because your system is being hit on relentlessly, and even if it's small, it kind of builds up like a snowball. So yeah, let me kind of put out my pronouns, he, him. As well, I am a first-gen Filipino Canadian, and believe it or not, I'm only 25. So very early start to my career, but I'm trying to do the most, I guess. Just a couple of companies that I used to work for and graduate from BCIT, worked for Convertis, which is a small startup. I was bought out by AutoTrader. Later in preview for a contract role, I was helping out job fit application, you know, HR recruiters who would send out like a 110 questionnaire, and they would use it through science to find better candidates. So I was able to kind of really empathize with how recruiters and HR worked. As well, ADP List, mentoring here since December. I have a whole story about that. Basically, I talked to Felix, the founder, in like December, right after Christmas dinner. And I said, wow, he has like one opening and I can do this right after dinner. And we spoke for like 2 hours. It was kind of unreal. But I said, you know what, I'm on a bit of a streak right now. I might as well hit the iron while it's hot. So I just did it. And then last year was Vancouver Design Check-In. I'll touch on to more of that later. But that is the community that I made because of the pandemic and because I wanted human connections and because I was super lonely. So just some best facts instead of fun facts, but this is better. I traveled 21 countries. This was a privilege that I got when I was younger. My parents really wanted us to be world traveled. So when I was 6, I believe, went to Greece, France, and Italy, and held a camcorder in my hand because my dad wanted for me to record it. And so that kind of also launched a little bit of a huge interest in my heart, which is for photography. I don't do it as much anymore. I think cameras on phones have kind of whittled down my creative spark for photography, but I do want to pick that up again. I used to also do headshots as well because I just I wanted to experiment more. I really like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I play that on the weekly every Monday. So kind of a nerd, really love it. Really love how it kind of brings together people of all different facets, and it can put them into one area, and you're just storytelling with your friends, and you want to make things work, and there's logic, and there's fun moments, and there's inside jokes, and it's a lot of creative sparks throughout my week, and that's every Monday for like 3 or 4 hours. Board games, like I said earlier, like I got really into board games last year, and now I have like a collection of 22 when I had only like 3, and it was because of my ex coworker. And he just introduced it to me, and I was like, wow, I'm getting tingly feelings inside, and my body loves it, and I'm getting excited every single time I show up board game. So board game nights has been like, I love hosting, and so board game nights has been that thing where I can have an excuse to bring up really cool people into the same place and just not, do other stuff, but focus on having fun together. Another weird fact is that I couldn't speak until 4 years old, and now I can't stop speaking. So my parents were relentlessly annoyed at me for until I was around 10 or 11 years old, because I kept using that excuse that I couldn't speak. And it was a whole mix. Apparently, like, they tried to teach me Tagalog, which is Filipino language, Spanish, and other stuff, and English, and I couldn't speak. And so I got confused apparently, and then my tongue couldn't get outside of my mouth. And so I had to have surgery, and then I had to do speech psychology for like a year, and I wouldn't speak to my mom. Like, she would show me if I wanted apple juice, and I'd be like, I'd just walk away. I wouldn't even answer her, but I would talk to my speech psychologist. I don't know why. I liked her apparently more than I liked my mom back then. I don't know why. And then after that, I started speaking really large words like incredible and incredulous. And then I got really into books, and I started reading books, and I still love books. Like, books are a huge part of my life. That's a little bit that. Love being in the kitchen. Like I said earlier, sourdough experimentation is all over the place and everything underneath the sun. And I love stories. So if you catch any movies or any TV shows, let me know, because I'm stuck on Vikings and I can't get out of it. So that's that. Cool. So a bit about my childhood. I was a weird kid. Okay, wait, let's backtrack. I talked a lot, like I said earlier. And I was the kid that would be walking with my parents. And my mom still mentions this to this day, that I didn't want to walk at all. So I would find an excuse, and I'd time this perfectly, where I'd walk and then I'd fall on the grass so that I couldn't walk anymore, and like crying and complaining. And I loved complaining. Oh boy, did I love it, because I wanted to like somehow emotionally manipulate them, and they know this, and I tell them exactly what my goal was, but they would just laugh at me because I was just looking really silly, and I didn't think that at all. So I think that was a weird foundation of who I was. I always wanted to take the easy route, always seeing what other people were doing and kind of copying that, or seeing what was easy. I didn't like a challenge at all. That's a common theme that bubbles up in my head and swirls around. Like, I didn't like soccer. My dad kind of forced me into soccer, and he, both my parents, sorry, but they wanted a team sport for me. I wanted to dance right beside the goalie pole while everyone else was playing. And I would dance to the crowd. So also dancing was a huge part of my life, because I just liked entertaining people. And so this is kind of why I'm here. It's an extension of what I wanted to do back then, just a bit differently. Now that I can't really dance in front of you, and I won't. So there's that. So there's that weird part. And I'll just say that my parents were amazing. Like my dad, he would work nights, and he worked nights all the time so that my mom can work her career and really like focus on her career. And so he sacrificed a lot for us, and he sacrificed a huge better position. He sacrificed better pay so that my mom can really bring the bread home. And so he would drive us back and forth from school and work. He'd volunteer endlessly. He would he'd go gardening in the summer just to help us out and in the school. And my mom would just be working crazy hard, and she worked crazy hard. She lost her job a couple of times. She went back to the job. She just transitioned so many times. So I'm just super grateful for them. And so you can kind of see them in the picture. And then my brother went through a whole heap of hardships when he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do for a job. And he was in marketing and then got into sales, and he really liked sales. So he kind of followed my mom's path, but it wasn't easy. He had to do a lot of door-to-door sales, and that's the hardest type of sales that you can do. So that's a little bit that. And then you're probably curious why the picture on the right. That was because we were doing like a French project, and for that reason, in like high school, you kind of always want to try something out. So I said, I was with a group full of girls, and this was Les Miserables. We were supposed to do like an edited clip, and I just said, you know what? Put me as a girl. Let's just do this. Do you have a dress? Let's just try this out. And I just had so much fun with it, and I just wanted to kind of explore and see, you know, what it felt like, and it felt great, and I had no shame of it. And yeah, so just a little bit there. I'll kind of walk you through what occurred to me early on in high school, and that's the thing that, like, before all of this, I always took chances. My dad would always say like, hey, why don't you do the easy route? This is the easier way to do it. And I was like, I don't really like the easy way. I like my way, and I like figuring out my way. I didn't know how to say that back at the time. I would just, do something really tough and like inefficient, but I just liked, I knew that I was building up that part of my being from the very beginning, that I started to see that I had so much privilege around me, and I everything was too easy. So I just made things more difficult so I can learn from it. And I guess that brings me to here. So this is, I had to dig into my Facebook videos just to find these clips, and it just brings back a lot of memories. I used to love singing. I still do, but I was on the choir, and I was doing singing lessons, and I recorded myself doing this 2 songs. I did three drafts of the same song: Fireflies by Al City, and Gives You Hell by All American Rejects. Okay, good, remembered. The Fireflies became viral in my school, and we were only a school of 300. And so it came around, and I became famous, but not for the right reasons. And so as you can see, the comments were not great, and I got a lot of flack for it. And I was striving for the basketball team. I played basketball for so many years, and I thought, oh, I was so arrogant. I was like, oh, screw elementary school. I'm going to be popular in high school, and I'm going to, be mean to my friends, and I'm not going to talk to them because they're lower than me or whatever. And I just like went off the rails, and I unleashed this song, and this song still kind of haunts me a little bit to this day. I just laugh at it. It's fine. I find it really funny, but yeah, I got really made fun of, and I got bullied for it. I got bullied a lot. I got bullied a lot in high school. I sunk into some depressive times, and yeah, during some classes, I would have to speak to this therapist, and I don't remember what I even told her at all. I think I kind of just blacked out for like the late bit of my grade 8 hood. I was the kid that would sit alone in lunch, and I would hope for people to sit with me. It was just it was just bizarre, because I wanted to see if people cared. And so I did that a lot. Yeah. And then, so it kind of carried on with me. So I felt like I did really bad things to my friends, and I kind of stuck to myself. And so I tried to break out of that, and it's still, the person that you see who I was before, that's something that's imprinted now. And a lot of people still have those memories. It's something that I kind of try to break away from, but you can never do that forever. But so I had to kind of start from the bottom of the social ladder and work my way up in high school. And it was tough because they kept remembering Fireflies, and they kept remembering and seeing all the people, you know, make fun of me and stuff like that. And even in grade 11, there was a French project, and they just kind of, they used my name in a derogatory way. And so and they started to make fun of me in the French project, and I had to talk to them. And I was very angry, but I'm not someone who really shows my anger, and I'm not someone who can express it really. Well, I don't really get angry at most things, but yeah, I was just really, really angry with that. So graduated, started to get back to my friends, got back to my roots, started to figure things out a little bit. And so once I graduated high school, started traveling to Greece. My parents gave me that as a as a graduation present, and I was super fortunate. But I feel like I wasted my time. Again, I liked it easy, and it was hot, and I liked Dexter at the time, so I just stuck to my couch and just watched Dexter literally for a month, and I think I went out like 3 times, and it was like 32 degrees, and I didn't do anything else. I was even able to explore the Greece, all of downtown in one day. Like I just zoomed through it because I'm like, okay, I can take pictures here, take pictures here, take pictures of everything, and then I'm good. Like that was it. I didn't even want to really experience it for some reason. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, that trip. And it was a trip where I found myself. But I don't think you ever truly find yourself. I think you constantly find yourself throughout life, and it is an ever exploration. Then went into BCIT. BCIT is like a technical institute. And this is where a majority of my high school and my elementary school, this is huge. I would watch anime in summer for the whole entire time, and I would lie to my friends that they were outside, and I wouldn't go outside and play with them because I had other things to do. And I like to plan out my day for myself, and I didn't like to kind of take on other things throughout the day. So I just lied, and I didn't like to go outside. But BCIT forced me to put in a lot of work. I didn't even know that I wanted to become a designer. I literally told my parents, I was like, guys, I don't know what I want to do. And they're like, oh, you got to choose what you want for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh, don't want to be a photographer, graphic design. Maybe I can go down the typical Filipino route where you go nursing or you become a lawyer. I'm so grateful my parents didn't pressure me at all. But I think I still needed that pressure. Or that clarity at least. And my aunt came from Winnipeg, and she hasn't visited us in a while. And she's like, hey, my nephew makes $50,000 as a web designer. I'm like, oh, you can be creative and you can think. Those are things that I never saw for myself. I always saw for myself that I can be in a cubicle doing a 9 to 5, just grunt work and doing nothing. Like that was my version of happiness. The only goal that I wanted in life was to be happy and to live with no regrets. And I'll always remember that moment when my aunt told me that. And I was like, oh my God, this is the thing. This is the thing. I remember we were going for breakfast. I'll never forget that moment. I couldn't get into the first year because it was full. And so I took a gap year. I took some very easy laid back courses. I was playing video games for like 3 or 4 hours. I was just taking it really easy. And when I got to this, it's 8 courses, 8 hours a day, like nonstop work. I didn't have a life, and I just worked. And I think I did pretty well. And it was the first time I learned how to apply myself and to practice and to really see what practice does. Like I said, I didn't like practicing. I would play basketball and I would just goof around the entire time because I liked entertaining teammates, or I liked entertaining the other team. So I learned a ton. And so into my second semester, I thought I was going to become a web developer. And then I read Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. And it talked about UX, and it talked about how you can solve people's problems. And you can kind of go to companies like Nike, and you can be a UX consultant. You can be on the beach and you can be like, hey, your stuff isn't good. And you can just kind of tell them that they're not good enough. And then that's your job. Like, I was like, okay, so I remember I was in the Chinese buffet for our family friend's birthday. And that was that big aha moment. And so I put most of my energy into that. I also did background work, so I was a background extra. I also did headshots that summer. Like I like doing a lot of things if I feel empowered to do it. And I didn't feel any empowerment from myself before. Like my parents would push me, but I just kind of fell over and I'd fall into the soft grass. And then afterwards, I got into an internship, a practicum. If anyone doesn't know, that's kind of, where you work for 3 months in a company, and then you use that credit to graduate, at least in my circumstance. And so I went with Convertis. When I applied, that was probably the first position I applied for. I tried summer jobs, but nobody really gave me the time of day. I got one interview once, and they wanted me to be the car, whatever, the one that brings a car around with the keys. And then afterwards, they wanted me to be in the dishwasher, and I was like, nope, I'm good, no thanks. So this was like the second interview I've ever done. I wasn't prepared, didn't know what I was doing, and then I got an email later like, oh, I didn't get the position. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Hopefully I can get something else because I needed to graduate. And then the next day they're like, oh, the person that we accepted actually turned down the position, you got in. I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay. And their application was, we play with Nerf guns and we have dogs in the office, come have fun with us. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. Hence my slide of Maggie, who we had every so often, and she was the best dog ever. So just a lot of jokes, a lot of like family oriented kind of thing. But I wasn't doing very well for my first couple of months. And so I had to my performance was not good. And so I did a lot of thinking and a lot of just trying to see how I can make my life a bit more efficient and a lot more steadier, because I had a chance now. I had a chance at my first job that I never had before. And I said, okay, let's learn one new thing every day. I would do that 1 or 2 hours before I work, and I would look through my emails and I'd read articles and I'd do research. And then let's listen to some podcasts that are really useful and helpful for me. So I listened to Tim Ferriss show, and I actually just I would go in with my mom and my brother into work because we worked really close by downtown. And so I would make them listen to my podcast every single day for like 2-3 years. And so they would listen to Tim Ferriss, and that's really what we listened to. And there was like 500-600 episodes. And I was just hoping that my brother and my mom would key into what I'm keying into. But I learned in life that not everyone has the same perspectives as you, and not everyone learns at the same pace as you or the same thing, because they bring their own biases and their own experiences with them. So you can be taught the secret of life, and some people can kind of tune it out. So it really depends on who you are. So I did a lot of thinking, and then I did on and off meditation throughout a lot of my university. So I said, okay, let's double down on that. I need energy throughout the day. I don't want to rely on coffee. I don't want to rely on anything. That's always been a goal of my life. It's not rely on anything. So I just started meditating, and I did a lot of thinking and a lot of probing. And so like, just a quick summary was that we were a small team, 45. We were only 2 people in my design team. My manager left to go to Japan with his girlfriend for 6 months. So it was just me and my manager, who was a year younger than me, but was a year older than me in terms of experience, because we went to the same program. So we started building the team. We grew to like 8 or 9, and I started taking more of a senior role. I started becoming really fast. I became a senior in 2 years. I was training. I was taking big projects. I was taking anything my team lead couldn't do. I was helping out teams. I noticed I really like training, and I really like taking on different roles. So on you see on the right, these are like different companies I partnered with just for freelance work. And UI Avenue was a startup 2 years in that when we got bought out, I told him like, okay, whatever you start, I'm in, because I want to work with you because you're really smart and you helped build this company that we're part of. And so 6 months later, he was like, oh, yeah, come work with us. I was like, okay. And then you'll get shares. I'm like, okay, it's cool with me. So I worked quite a lot, and I took a lot of I took a lot of chances and I took a lot of experiences away from my work because I felt like I needed to be pushed more. I feel like I needed to grow even more. It wasn't a resume thing. It was just me trying to adapt and grow and really push forward in my life. I guess that's a pattern that you guys are noticing, forced challenges. And then would go like every Thursday, would have poke with him and poke night and whatever. And we would just work side by side. And it was super fun. So then fast forward to 2019, November, I was laid off from my job. There was about 25 to 30 people also laid off with me. I will never forget that day. Came into work and just got surrounded by HR that I've never met from the motherland. And so got into a room and it was like, okay, the project's over. Whatever they hired us for, it was a huge project to take on like 1,000 websites to our platform. They didn't need us anymore. They didn't need my team and me. So it was a grieving moment. It was a grieving day. We all kind of went back to my friend's apartment. We all cried together. We all went to barbecue. And I don't even remember most of that for 3 weeks. I was just in like a very shell. And so I said, okay, is this going to break me or is this going to make me? I was already thinking about, leaving this company, and I was planning after I get that 3 years. So this was that extra push, that necessary push. So I said, I haven't taken a break in years. I'm going to take a sabbatical. I'm going to work really slowly because now I'm on EI and I'm just going to, casually do my resume, casually work on the side of my side company. I'm going to do all the casual things and just relax. I can't leave the company, sadly, so I can travel. So I really want to travel. And with the money that you get, the surplus, you can't really do too much. So I figured out ways to make the most of my days and to make the most of my money for a very long time. And so during the pandemic hit, I was ready to work. I was ready to look for a job. I had everything in order. I spent months on my resume and my portfolio. And then, I was completely shocked. I didn't know what to do. And all this work that I did was poofed up into air. So I took 3 weeks of solitude, just trying to figure things out. And when I started to there was one morning when I had a panic. That panic is really what set off everything. I saw the problem and I worked my way backwards. I said, okay, I need a job by November because I will lose EI. What do I do? What is the one thing that I haven't done and that will lead me to a job? And this was my thought process that one morning. And I remember staring at a wall, just staring blankly. And I said, I need to network. I need to do the thing that is the toughest that I've never done before. My entire network is only like 300-400 people, mostly that I know, most people I know or never talked to. So I wasn't active anywhere. And then I said, okay, I want to be a director. I started realizing that my goal from the very beginning was always to be a leader, to always be a director. I don't know how, I don't know where. So I started, okay, let's network. Let's try one person. Let's just talk to one person. And I talked to Amy, and Amy will probably see this because I'll share it to her. Amy, you're amazing. And so she kicked me in the butt, and I was like, here's my stuff, please help me. And then I told her, and I was like, I don't know how to ask for help. I'm not wired for this. Back in the day, I wasn't even wired for proper compliments with Fireflies and everything like that. I still kind of have troubles getting compliments. I don't know whether people are making fun of me or we're having jokes a lot of times. So my brain has to do a lot of translations. And so this was the toughest thing, was I live alone in solitude during the pandemic. And I said, okay, I need help. And so I started witnessing a lot of positivity on LinkedIn, a lot of people reaching out for help. I saw a lot of patterns. So I started kind of noticing that people were willing to help, and I kind of need to take that. And then when I started reaching out for people, people started calling back. I talked to this one person, and she looked at my resume and my cover letter and completely destroyed it, absolutely obliterated it. to the point of no return. I felt like I was questioning my entire life, but that was that aha moment. If someone gives you advice that makes you question your life, you got to take that advice. You got to do it. Your body, your gut, your instinct is kicking you, is pushing you, because you know that's the right answer. And so I did. I took their advice, and I had a stress pimple right here for a whole week. And I'll never forget that pimple. But it really pushed me to make a better resume, pushed me to think about all my experiences. And then it pushed me to think, how can I help others? What's the point in worrying about the world? And I can't change anything when I can change my world, when I can help others instead. Now, there is a caveat to this. That was the beginnings of my community, was that you need to find balance in your life in order to help others. I was able to find some balance. So I kind of leaned into that balance, and I realized I leaned into what I was good at. But you can't really, because you subconsciously bring in your own troubles into other people if you start giving them advice when you're not really ready for it to give it, right? So I started making sourdough because I felt like sourdough was a challenge and was super old, but I can gift it to others. I can make it for others. I can help others. I can bring a smile to other people's faces. And so I did that for a while. And so I literally did that for 2 months. I connected with someone on Instagram who was a chef, and we talked for 2 months on DMs. We've never met before. And he taught me how to make sourdough over text and through video. And it was incredibly challenging. And I never did great. I probably had like one that was 80% all the way. Most of them were just flat and tough. And I kept trying to make the most intricate one, but he's like, keep it simple. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I want to do the best. So I kind of like to skip rings instead of just bearing down on foundations. You also kind of curious what this burger is. I like making burgers. I like cooking. And I loved burgers when I was a kid. And so I decided to self-impose this challenge. If I don't eat burgers for an entire year, what will happen to me? Again, I would always eat burgers every time I go to restaurants. That was my one thing. And then when I had a burger with my friends, it was like this, I was shaking when I was about to put it in my mouth, and it was like a bison burger. It was from a really fancy place. And then when I bit into it, I was like, oh, it's just a burger. Why was I so afraid of it? And I was able to, and I reflect on it, I learned a lot of different food, and I learned a lot of different cool things that I've never tasted before. And my taste buds started to grow, and I don't crave burgers anymore. I don't crave the thing that I wanted forever, and I don't crave the thing that was so special to me. So now it's special because of the lack of it. And so I use this weird little thing in my head whenever I do things, is that the lack of it makes it more special for some reason. It makes it, it's like a self-imposed challenge. And I guess all these little challenges prepared me for the pandemic in some way, because I was able to figure out, how much to spend, how much cooking, going more vegetarian, leaning onto tofu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so a bit about my community building, like I said, like finding balance before offering balance. I was on a walk, and I was attending different events, and I didn't like the way that they were doing it. I didn't like to be talked to. And so I realized that might be able to do something a little bit different. I wanted to connect with people. I noticed that Vancouver designers didn't talk to each other. And so I said, okay, what if I do a bi-weekly event so I don't get burned out, and we just talk? That's it. I had my first thing, and I found some Vancouver designers off of an event from DesignX. And so I said, hey, who's from Vancouver? Oh, cool. Do you want to give me your email, and I'll send you to a Slack group? And then I did. And so I had 3 people in my first call, or sorry, 2 people, Andre and Max, and they'll see this. And so I was like, hey guys, what's up? And then I had my questions on my other screen. I didn't end up using any of the questions at all. We just hung out. It was the most fun I had in pandemic. And then for 3-4 months, nobody showed up. I think I had like 3 calls, and I would stare at the screen waiting for people to show up, and nobody showed up. And I was like, you know what? I think there's still something here. I'm going to push through this. I only thought of 30 people that I can impact. I'll show you the number where we're at today, and it's incredible. But I started planting the seeds early on for networking. I started contacting people and just saying hello. I started attending different events, and I started figuring things out, because you do. And when you nurture those seeds, every so often you put a little water in there, they start to bloom, right? Some seeds grow in harsh environments, and they need a little more love and care. And I did that. And you kind of keep doing it over and over again until it becomes easier. And all those little seeds that you plant, like this seed that I planted in my mind 3-4 years ago, blooms, because that opportunity came at me and I took it. I jumped at it right away, because I've always been looking at that opportunity. I never strayed away from it. When I was getting rejected from countless jobs, I saw a talk that said rejection is just redirection. That's in life in general. Like, it's not meant for you, so move on. And when you move on, you can always figure out a different way in how you want to do it. I didn't mention that our theme was resilience, but I hope that I've been communicating this effectively, that, you know, rejection is part of that, and it's part of the growth that you feel. You'll always find another door if you close the other ones. And the hard part is closing those other ones and just finding that door. I coined this one, and I said this in a LinkedIn post a while ago, and I didn't know that this was an actual quote, but showing up is the most important thing you could do for everyone in your life. Every single person. If you show up for your family, you show up, you're 100% there, you're 100% you, without your phone or anything like that, they will notice that. You are the leader, and you can show up just by being a leader. You can show up in your community. You can give back. You can go on social networks, and you can show up for other people who need help. All of these different adversities, all these different things in life, all these different trials that we've been going through for the last 2 years, all you had to do is just show up and just support and be there. And people will notice that and will recognize you for that. And that's what I've been trying to do in my community. I just want to show up for you. Ask how you are. Check in with your mental state. Be that person that you can say hello to and just check in. I never came in with any hidden agendas. My goal was always just to, you know, be there. I learned this saying from a talk, and he's the lead UX designer at Google. And he mentioned that his dad was trying to teach him how to drive. And he's like, hey, Dad, I don't know why I keep getting out of my lane. And he said, stare at the horizon and you'll stay in your lane. And so he did, almost miraculously. And so that's kind of a testament in life. If you keep staring at that goal, you'll never swerve. You'll never get out of that lane. You'll always see that goal, and you'll figure it out. You'll get there. I also thought about a lot of problems are just opportunities. Like I said, you'll figure it out. There's solutions. There's always solutions. There's multiple solutions. Solutions is what I love doing every single day. Hard solutions are more fun than easy ones. It's just some mindset. It's just a change in your head. When I was doing one interview with a really big company, and I had to find that goal, like, hey, I need to get a job. I was like, oh, I want a job, or I'm going to get a job. And then I kind of said, no, you know what? I will get a job. And I sat in that feeling, and I let myself sit in that feeling. And it felt great. I didn't question it. I didn't put an excuse to why I felt great in it. I just said, you know what? I'm going to say I will more often. I'm going to say I will to like everything. I will get a job this month. And I did. It was that switch. I was like, wow. You know, I'm going to keep getting all of these different things, and I'm going to like being happy. And I think you can like being happy. You don't need to make excuses all the time. And it's hard. And I know it's hard, but it gets easier. And I also during that day, I also had to fall in love with my past experiences. I had to say, you know what, I'm going to do this crazy gauntlet of a 4-hour interview and meet like 6 crazy smart design managers. And I turned down a job offer just for this. moment because I felt like it was too easy, but I was starting to panic. And I said, no, you got to fall in love with your experiences. You got to fall in love with everything that you've done. You got to look at your resume, not as a resume, but your life story, and that you have so much to offer and share and value to the company, and that you're playing the offensive. They want you. You're in this process already. So you need to want them. I also kept thinking, and I kept telling this to my friends, what more can you do for others? What more can I do for myself? What more can I do for the community? Instead of thinking, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I don't have time for that. Or, oh, here's all these different excuses. You just, if you can reroute that part of your brain, you'd be surprised in what you can do. It's weird that I felt like a god for weird moments in the pandemic. I was like, how am I doing this right now? How are people joining my community? It grew from 30 in September to now 450 people. And I never did any of this real life. I would go to Creative Mornings and I would get a coffee and I would stand in the corner waiting for people to talk to me. I would be like, coffee, yeah? Oh, we're not getting coffee. I would be nervous. I talked to one person and that conversation, I didn't want to talk to him again. I'm like, oh no, I have to talk to him again. Oh God, I don't like small talk. Oh God, I don't want to sit beside him. Oh God, I was that guy. I kind of still am to this day. Even people around living me in my building, I'm starting to get used to talking to baristas and starting to connect with people in person. But I still have troubles with small talk around me. Like we live with each other. I see you. I don't know if I want to talk to you. I don't know what to talk about. But with community people, with these connections, you have that barrier to ice. I just focus local because that was the barrier that I felt like I can break. We all had local experiences. We all can share different experiences, but it's the thing that bonds us that you kind of need to focus on. And what more can you do for them? I love this adage that I learned early on. It's probably from Tim Ferriss, and he said he's going to teach his son not to be scared of rain, but to play in it instead, and to find joy in rain. And I always think of that whenever I go through troubles, any small troubles, anything during the day. How can I enjoy this rain? How can I play in it? Yesterday, I actually went out for a walk in the rain, and I just was prepared. You prepare yourself, you plan ahead, and then you execute it. And so when I was walking, I was like, oh, sorry. When I was walking, I was like, okay, I'm going to get food. I'm going to have a little date for myself. I'm going to do some chores. This is going to be fun. I had fun, and I was just enjoying just being here. Quickly on this, a lotus will grow in the harshest conditions. A beautiful flower. A peacock eats poison berries and poisonous fruit when humans wouldn't be able to eat it. Try to think about how you can kind of be like the lotus and the peacock. Do those things that are dangerous, that are scary. You'll survive, you'll grow, and you'll adapt, and you'll find nourishment in it. Just like the sheep of Ronaldsay. These sheep are in Ireland, and Ronaldsay was like a booming industry, 600 people on the island. This is from 99% Invisible, by the way. And so they had to figure out, okay, we have a kelp industry, it died. Now what? Okay, so we have these sheep and cattle. We need to figure out a way to give cattle the right nutrients. So they built a wall literally around the island so that cattle could get the right grass. And so all the sheep got pushed out to the sides, and they had to adapt to their harsh environment of eating kelp all day. Kelp doesn't have copper. Every human life needs copper. So they had to extract as much copper nutrients from kelp in order to survive in the outskirts. And they munch on the kelp, and they love the kelp. And so they have a wall, and they keep trying to build up that wall every time it breaks, because literally when the sheep comes to eat the grass, it's poisonous to them now because they've adapted to this harsh environment. So yeah, that's kind of honestly it. Here's just a couple of numbers. 72 applications. I was able to get last year 20 interviews because I started to become very selective. I did the work. I put the seeds down and I watched it grow. I let companies sell to me. I set up all these meetings prior to, and so I figured it out. And you can do it too. You just realize that you have so much value, and that referrals are like the key. And I was able to get 3 offers. last year. I accepted one, well, two for the contract role, but and now I have 476 community members, and I've helped more than 20 people get hired. I think, I don't know. I'm starting to lose count. I need to write that down. I've mentored more than 50 people, and that's amazing just to give back, because you learn more about yourself. And I don't think it's talent. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy. But like I said, I didn't put any of it to practice. And when I started to realize that I can create that loop, career, life, and me, how I can create that healthy loop of, then you start to feel amazing every day. So yeah, this is kind of my community. We do regular hangouts. I just pair you off with 4 different designers, and you guys chat off. We also do one-on-one pairings, because I copy a lot and I steal a lot, and none of my ideas are original. So donut, I just stole donut. And we do also whiteboard challenges every other week. So if you're curious, I think Wafe has put in the links in the chat. I haven't looked at the chat at all, because I'm scared, but that's okay. And so that's kind of it. Yeah, just become uncomfortable with being intentionally uncomfortable. That's probably the wisest words I would have told myself when I was younger. Take little steps every day and celebrate your wins. Be your own cheerleader, because no one else is. So yeah.